this.
You owe me a dance lesson.
Yes. Saturday night.
Welcome back. This is going to be my full Marvel What If Episode 1 video. There were a whole bunch of Easter eggs. I'll explain what's going on with the series and how this is all going to play out because it is canon to the MCU. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. I am doing a giveaway for Disney Plus memberships. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and just leave your favorite WTF moment or Easter egg from the episode on the video. So careful for spoilers from the episode if you have not seen it yet. Starting with the episode title, What If Captain Carter Were the First Avenger? So obviously this is all based on the events of the first Captain America movie. There were many scenes that mirrored moments from the first Captain America movie in some of the other movies as well, like the first Avengers movie. Ma'am, please put down the sword, which is a nice Easter egg for Loki showing up with a scepter. Sir, please put the spear down. There are 9 episodes total. All the episode titles will follow this naming convention. What if something something? You know, obviously something goes very different for each of these characters, each of these different universes that we see during the series. But the actual episode starts just straight off with a custom What If Marvel Studios intro. Each of the different Marvel Disney Plus series has gotten their own custom version of the Marvel Studios intro. The one for What If starts with the regular version of the new Marvel Phase 4 intro like the other series, but when it transitions to the white text of the Marvel Studios logo, the intro changes to the cel-shaded animation style of the What If episodes. Because it's an animated series, so the live-action title changes to animated. And I know a lot of people were wondering, is this going to cross over with the live-action stuff because it's animated and we've never seen that before? They did say that some of these animated characters from What If from alternate universes will eventually show up in live action, like Captain Carter. They implied heavily that she will show up in the live action movies, but they didn't say which movie, just that eventually she will. She's not the only one. They said that any of the characters that we see, any of the big conceits, the big twists, could wind up becoming live action spin-off series by themselves. It's all open for grabs. There are no limits here. But then it starts with the Watcher, Uatu's voiceover narration, kind of like a Twilight Zone Rod Serling intro, but his entire speech over the intro here and his speech at the end before the end credits are all taken directly from the original What If comics. They always open the comic book stories with the Watcher introducing the title and explaining how everything worked, what the rules were. His speech about time, space, reality, it's more than a linear path, it's a prism to endless possibilities, is a reference to, 1, the Infinity Stones, but also, 2, to the multiverse, because this is a big multiverse series. As that happens, the frame shatters into a bunch of shards, prisms of endless possibilities representing the alternate universes that we'll see in the episodes. The Loki series just did a version of this, explaining how alternate timelines work, how the true multiverse works, but then it shows us a version of Black Panther in his original Civil War costume, Captain Marvel, Iron Man in his Infinity War armor. This is Party Thor, the new version of Thor that we'll meet during the series. This is Black Widow from the Avengers Infinity War episode because of her blonde hair and her special jacket that we found out about during the Black Widow movie. This is a version of Captain America in his Civil War costume. We'll see many different iterations of the Avengers. Obviously, in the Captain Carter universe, she winds up becoming part of that universe's version of the Avengers, but we'll eventually meet an alternate version of the Avengers with Steve Rogers, Captain America, on the team. So all these people that you see in the intro here, all these scenes and all the prisms here represent actual scenes from episodes that we'll see in the future. Like you see King T'Chaka here, you see Obadiah Stane. All these are taken from upcoming episodes, and because there are so many of them that they show during this intro, I already did a big trailer video explaining what all these different scenes in these shards represent and which episodes they come from, so I'll post a link for that video in the description because it would take me like a whole 20 minutes to explain all these different scenes by themselves, but suffice it to say, all these things are from upcoming episodes that we'll see during the series. When the Watcher talks about a single choice branching out into infinite realities and the larger shards break into infinite ones spiraling off into the background, that's another Loki connection. That's the exact same thing we saw play out in the Loki series and the Loki finale with the true multiverse breaking free from the sacred timeline because of Sylvie's choice to kill He Who Remains, a single choice giving birth to infinite possibilities. Infinite versions of Kang. When he announces himself as the Watcher and that he's watching all these things play out, he is playing the main Watcher from the comics, Uatu. And most of you will remember we saw live-action versions of the Watchers during Guardians of the Galaxy 2. They canonized Stan Lee as an agent of the Watchers. That's his actual formal name inside the MCU, Agent of the Watchers. Even though there are many versions of the Watcher's race inside the MCU, the way they're explaining it on the series is that it's just Uatu, this one Watcher, the main Watcher from the 616 Marvel Universe comics, watching all these other alternate realities play out, all these alternate universes. Usually in the comics, when you go to different universes, you also meet different versions of Uatu. So even though the series is canon to the MCU and we're just seeing one version of him, there might be other versions of Uatu out in the multiverse out there somewhere. Because the episode is only about 30 minutes long and they have to cover the entire plot of the first Captain America movie, they do speed run a lot of things from that first Captain America movie. So the Watcher begins setting up the events at the beginning of the first Captain America movie, explaining how World War II is playing out, and how they fast forward to Steve Rogers preparing to get the super soldier serum. He starts out by explaining what happened to the events of the original Captain America movie, like the actual MCU sacred timeline, the Infinity Saga, as we saw things play out, but then introduces the whole what if of it all. What if, in an alternate universe, a single choice created a whole new hero, and we travel to the Captain Carter universe, which they don't actually give a designation to, they just call it another Earth. Maybe when we get some of the show notes later, the showrunners will explain to us what they're actually calling her Earth that she comes from. And they reveal that the Nexus event, so to speak, the event that caused everything to change, was Peggy Carter choosing to stay on the floor with Steve Rogers while the experiment was going on. Just like in the original Captain America movie, Richard Armitage's Hydra agent tries to sabotage the experiment, but does it in a slightly different way and is a little bit more successful, winds up shooting Steve Rogers, wounding him so badly that he won't be able to survive the super soldier process. I love that the military's first alt choice on the fly is to turn Howard Stark into a super soldier. That would be a disaster, but it would be a hilarious disaster. We knew that they were going to do Captain Carter, so of course he refuses, saying that he's there to press buttons, which they pay off at the end of the episode when Peggy Carter says, "Tell me you don't need help pressing buttons." So Peggy Carter grabs the remaining vial of super soldier serum, climbs in the chamber, and becomes Captain Carter. Although, the way they explain it, she's not a captain when this happens. That happens later in the episode, when she has them promote her to the rank of captain. So she doesn't officially become Captain Carter and get her name till about halfway through the episode. And the whole idea here is that she's basically becoming a version of Captain America. Yes, she is wearing the Union Jack, and she is British Army, so she's kind of like Captain Britain, but I think the reason why they're just calling her Captain Carter as her official name on the show in the merchandise is because they want to save the Captain Britain name for Brian Braddock in the MCU or another character to become a more legit version of Captain Britain, because he comes from the King Arthur mythology, which I'll mention in a second, because there's some moments at the end of the episode which are kind of winks at that. There was a huge Captain Britain Easter egg during Avengers Endgame. Speak of the devil, Peggy Carter herself mentions Agent Braddock during the 1970s when they're stealing the Pym particles in the Tesseract. So it sounds like eventually Kevin Feige plans on introducing a version of Captain Britain at some point. They set up the whole rivalry with her commanding officer who doesn't want to have anything to do with her, like, "You're not supposed to be here, we were supposed to have a real super soldier." This scene of them taking her vials of blood is the exact same scene from the first Captain America movie. They changed the order in which some of the events from the first Captain America movie happen, but most of the scenes during the episode are scenes taken from that first Captain America movie. Like, she starts out working the punching bag the same way Captain America did in the post-credit scene from the first Captain America movie after he'd already come back in present day, heading into the events of the first Avengers movie. Steve Rogers jokes about her having to do that original Captain America USO tour that he did during the first Captain America movie selling war bonds. Think about how terrible that would be. Howard Stark also makes a reference to that later in the episode when he gives her her Captain America costume. "Oh yeah, this was going to be for that USO tour. We were going to make you do that." Steve mentions Bucky in the Howling Commandos unit, the 107, because everything up to this point in the timeline has been the same as it was in the original movie, so Bucky had already been deployed at this point. She has the exact same problem that Steve had during the original movie, with the military not letting either one of them join the actual war until they called an audible and disobeyed orders. They set up the whole theme of the dance from the first Captain America movie in the entire Infinity Saga movies because they didn't really pay that last dance off till Avengers Endgame. Steve mentions he's a terrible dancer. Peggy says you just haven't found the right partner yet. So I'm now wondering if over multiple seasons of What If, as she travels the multiverse, the Guardians of the Multiverse Avengers team that will eventually form, if her arc will eventually end with a similar Avengers Endgame style Captain America ending where she makes it back to her version of Steve Rogers in the 1940s. They have their dance and then she grows old with him. They've only confirmed What If Season 2. I don't know how many seasons they plan on letting it run. Hopefully it'll make it to 5 seasons, because it seems like a pretty solid show so far. And because it's What If, you can literally do anything you want. You can get as crazy as you want, because it's all about exploring the craziest possibilities in the multiverse. Then, like I said, they sort of changed the order from the scenes in the original Captain America movie. They go to Tonsberg, Norway, where we get the version of Red Skull stealing the Tesseract, but this time when he takes the Tesseract, he also takes the entire giant Asgardian wall carving. And if you didn't remember, Tonsberg, this town here, is also the same town from the flashback in the first Thor movie that Odin went to protect against the frost giants. It's also the place where he died on the cliffside and told Thor this would be a great place for Asgard, and it's where they build New Asgard after the Asgardians come to Earth after Infinity War. We'll see a much more developed version of it during the events of Thor Love and Thunder. The wall carving itself is designed exactly like the one in the movie, but the camera focuses on the tentacles of the Hydra, foreshadowing the Hydra monster that comes through the portal later in the episode. And the serpent secret compartment with the button that contains the actual Tesseract is a representation of the Midgard serpent, which in Norse mythology is Loki's child. There were a couple references to that during the Loki series. But again, changing the order of the scenes from the first Captain America movie, the mission that Peggy disobeys and goes on the first time is to steal the actual Tesseract from Red Skull and Arnim Zola. Originally in the movies, it was Captain America saving Bucky, the POWs, the Howling Commandos. That doesn't happen till a little bit later in the episode this time. Howard Stark gives her the costume, like I said, and the reason why it's the Union Jack is because she's British, she's part of the British Army, but because we're speedrunning the plot of the first Captain America movie, they give her a more armored version of it, like I made some upgrades to this. And he gives her the vibranium shield, also with the Union Jack on it. They jump cut to her stopping the Hydra convoy, carrying Arnim Zola and the Tesseract to Europe, using her attack as a sort of montage that you get in a lot of superhero stories and movies, TV shows, where the hero discovers their powers in the middle of a fight, like she learns what she can do while this is all happening. Like, oh wow, I didn't know I was this strong. She brings the Tesseract back to the US headquarters and tells them to promote her to Captain because she's going out on field duty to the front lines, and that's where her name, Captain Carter, comes from. Howard Stark gets his hands on the Tesseract way earlier than he did during the events of the original Captain America movie, and his next act is to create an Iron Man suit for skinny Steve Rogers, calling it the Hydra Stomper. And if it wasn't clear here, he was using the Tesseract to power it, like he put the actual Tesseract itself inside the suit to use like an arc reactor. So he's using an Infinity Stone to power the suit. Really cool Easter egg for Iron Man in present day of the MCU. If you remember, Iron Man used his father's research on the Tesseract to create his new element to use in his new arc reactor during Iron Man 2. Because that element is based on Infinity Stones, in a way, Iron Man's arc reactors since the events of Iron Man 2 were all based on Infinity Stones, so almost this whole time in the MCU, Iron Man has been powered by an Infinity Stone, so to speak. Yes, the suit does look a little bit like the Ironmonger suit, but that's just because he's working with more primitive technology that was available during World War II in the 1940s. Then they go on that mission from the first Captain America movie to save Bucky the Howling Commandos. It just happens later in the episode. She reminds him, just like in the movie, that he still owes her that dance. They just kind of continue the theme of the dance from the first Captain America film. Most of this rescue is a shot-for-shot copy that plays out exactly like the events of the first Captain America movie, but like I said, they're speed-running everything, so it just happens way quicker. This shot of her busting through the door with the Howling Commandos, the same shot from the first Captain America movie, just happening during a different part of the actual story. The big difference this time, though, is that Steve Rogers flies in wearing that Iron Man armor, rescuing them from the German infantry. Bucky instantly figures out it's Steve Rogers when Peggy calls out Steve's name. And you may have noticed throughout the episode, Sebastian Stan was playing Bucky during the episode, but he had way more quips than you would expect from Bucky. The joke that Sebastian Stan had when he was talking about performing his lines is that the big twist with his version of Bucky, obviously he doesn't become Winter Soldier, that's a twist, but the bigger twist is that they made him funny, whereas the normal MCU version of Bucky is like the most serious character ever. The fact that the armor says C-15 on it makes it sound like it's the 15th version of the armor, but then they do a Captain Carter version of that Captain America movie montage after they rescue the Howling Commandos, when they just go around wrecking Hydra and German troops. They also take advantage of the suit's ability to fly, doing a really cool aerial assault. It would have been cool to see something like this during the live-action Captain America movie. Then they do a slightly different version of Red Skull, killing Hitler's regular military officers when they start yelling at him, claiming that Hydra is now going to do their own thing. The way he explains it, he's going to summon the true champion of Hydra from beyond the stars, as he looks at the Asgardian carving here at the symbol of the Hydra. So what he's talking about is the actual Lernian Hydra, the monster for which Hydra actually takes its name, implying that he's found a way to summon it from the multiverse. In the comics, the Hydra Beast was the spawn of the Greek titan Typhon. There are Greek gods inside the Marvel Universe. Like Russell Crowe is going to be playing a version of Zeus during Thor Love and Thunder. The Hydra's mother was also one of the children of the elder gods like Chthon. For those of you wanting Hercules to show up in the MCU, one of the 12 labors of Hercules inside the MCU was to slay this mythical Hydra creature. But that's the comic book version. The MCU version now, because this is all canon to the MCU, is that this is an interdimensional being. So I know a lot of people were wondering if this was going to be like a version of Shuma-Gorath. No, it is the mythical Hydra, but Shuma-Gorath is also an interdimensional being with a lot of giant tentacles. They do a similar scene from the first Captain America movie where he can't get drunk because of the super soldier serum. Peggy Carter is also upset that she can't get drunk anymore and enjoy whiskey. They have a brief moment sort of continuing that theme of their dance together as Bucky and Howard Stark show up to take her and Steve on the same mission to hijack that Hydra train from the first Captain America movie. This time, Bucky is saved from falling into the ravine by Peggy Carter, who makes a reference to his metal arm from the movie, saying, "You almost ripped my arm off." So like I said, in this universe, in this timeline, Bucky never becomes Winter Soldier. But the twist here, the person that goes down, winds up being Steve Rogers in the Iron Man armor suit. The whole train itself is just meant to trap Steve Rogers so that Red Skull can steal the Tesseract back from the Hydra Stomper armor. They have a joke about Peggy torturing Arnim Zola. You do kind of wonder what she did to get him to talk, but he gives away all Red Skull's plans, allowing her to mount the rescue mission. They explain how he's going to bring the Hydra to conquer the Earth or destroy it if that won't work. And when they break into the castle, Bucky says, "You go high, I go low." That's another speech from the first Captain America movie. Red Skull uses the Tesseract then to open the portal, summon the Hydra. Steve Rogers steals back the Hydra Stomper armor. And in this universe, the way Red Skull goes out is that the Hydra kills it just right after coming out of the portal, crushing him to death. The way they play it is that he's dead, but we didn't see the body, so I guess you could theorize that he survived somehow, but I think they really want you to think that he died because of all those crunching sounds. Peggy grabs a nearby sword, so even though it's not actually Excalibur, I was kind of hoping that it would be Excalibur. Captain Britain, the Black Knight, both characters from the King Arthur mythology inside the Marvel Universe have wielded Excalibur, so her being British, wearing the Union Jack, having a shield, it's kind of like she's becoming a classic British knight character. She kind of becomes Marvel's version of Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones, just charging around swinging a sword. Howard Stark makes a joke about getting it on with Hedy Lamarr, who was a famous German actress at that time. I spent some time with her, but she sure as hell was not teaching me German. The whole thing with the Hydra's cries driving everyone mad is just one of its powers from the comics. They also explain that as it breaks into our dimension, it also physically starts growing larger and larger, and it'll just continue to grow until it consumes entire continents. After Steve's Iron Man Hydra Stomper armor runs out of energy, Peggy is forced to physically push it back through the portal herself. They have that same speech from the end of the first Captain America movie, "You owe me that dance." Yeah, Saturday night, definitely happening. Whereas Captain America went into the ice, which they also referenced earlier in the episode, Peggy Carter disappears into the Tesseract portal. But the crazy thing is that it transports her through space-time into the future 70 years to the events of the first Captain America movie. She winds up coming through that portal in that same scene that Loki did at the beginning of the first Avengers film. When Nick Fury says, "Please put down the sword," it's just a twist on his line to Loki saying, "Please put down the spear," after he showed up with the scepter. Hawkeye is there. Both Samuel L. Jackson and Jeremy Renner are playing their characters in the series. They'll be in multiple episodes. And in the way that Steve Rogers went into the ice, but then became a legend in United States history and world history, and everyone knew who he was in present day, Hawkeye also kind of lets us know the same thing happened in this universe, where everybody kind of knows who Peggy Carter is. Oh, this is Captain Carter. Then they have the speedrun version of the end of the first Captain America movie, the post-credit scene where Nick Fury tells him the war ended 70 years ago, and he's in the year 2012. Then they imply that in her universe, they formed the Avengers around Captain Carter, just like they did around Steve Rogers in the main MCU universe. Then, like I said, that outro speech that the Watcher gives is directly taken from the text of the What If comics that he has in every single What If comic. But even though this is a really big deal, next week's episode 2 is going to be What If Black Panther became Star-Lord, so it'll be much more Guardians of the Galaxy. We won't really start seeing a ton of the What If main characters start crossing over with each other, meeting each other till the later episodes, but eventually they will all form up. Right now, this is the order of the episodes that we know about. So next week it's Black Panther becoming Star-Lord. Then episode 3 is what if someone tried to kill all the Avengers before they became the Avengers. Episode 4 is the Doctor Strange episode. Episode 5 might be the Iron Man episode because they're kind of slowly moving forward in the timeline. Episode 6 is the Wakanda episode, and I think when we get to the later episodes, we get more to the Ultron, to the Marvel zombies of it all, like the really crazy stuff. Like I said, there are 9 episodes total. If you spotted any other big Easter eggs in this episode that I didn't mention in the video, just write them below in the comments. My full What If Episode 2 video will post next week. I do have a couple bonus videos planned this week, so make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss any of them. If there are any big requests or big questions you have, just leave them in the comments below, and I'll add them to my future videos. Everyone click here to learn what's going on with Thanos during the What If series, and click here for my Spider-Man What If trailer video and learn what's going on with him. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.